The pandemic has certainly shaken the entire automotive industry. But what's the biggest problem that the luxury car dealers or car retailers are facing right now? Obviously, the cash crunch becomes one of the biggest problem when we talk about luxury brands because the cost of inventory is very high. India already has one of the highest capital cost. In such a scenario, how the dealer partners or automobile retailers in luxury brands dealing or coping with this crisis? I have here with me none other than Martin Schwenk, MD and CEO of country's largest luxury car brand, Mercedes-Benz India, to deliberate, discuss, and showed us the way what the company or the brand did to make or keep their dealer partners profitable in these testing times. So let's welcome Mr. Martin Schwenk to ET Auto Retail Forum to give his small presentation before we take the discussion forward. Welcome to ET Auto Retail Forum, Martin. Thank you so much for joining in.
Thank you, Nabil, and thanks for having me with the ET Auto Retail Forum. It's a great honor for me to have that opportunity to talk to you. What I'd like to give you today a little bit of a view is what we call our new beginnings. There's a lot of discussion about new normal, but for me, honestly, it feels more like new beginnings. 2020 was very difficult with a lot of challenges, but it also helped us a lot to review our business and to look into how shall we set up ourselves for the future and what are the consequences out of that. And what I guide you through is a view from Mercedes-Benz on exactly these lines. 2021 has already started with very positive signs. Economic revival is clearly there. We have the vaccines on the horizon. India very strong also in terms of producer of vaccines, and I'm very positive that this will further help to stabilize the situation in India. We have seen in the last quarter continuously going the COVID numbers down, and I'm sure that contributed a lot to the positive development of all major KPIs we can think of. For example, GST numbers went up. Purchase manager indices are really stronger. And obviously also on the stock market, the situation has greatly improved. When we compare that with where we sat a couple of months ago, I think none of us would have really hoped for a V-shaped recovery in a way we see that here. On the left, you see wholesale numbers of 2020 now in green across the car industry. And I think we are all positively, I would almost say impressed that we could come that much out of the situation in April, May, now with a much more stable environment. And also on the right, you see different press notices and articles. I think clearly the all industry has seen a lot of positive momentum in the last couple of months and specifically also in the last quarter. And I can only say for us as Mercedes-Benz, we see similar trends and we're very happy about that. Again, I would say I'm actually positively surprised. I don't think we would have thought 6 months ago that we could have such a strong recovery. When we look now a little bit into, again, back into 2020, for sure, the retail network was stressed a lot. And it started obviously in March, April, with a lot of pressure, specifically first on the cash position of dealers. I think every manufacturer had to make sure that the network remains afloat. And I think we did our part, as many others have also done, to really keep liquidity in the dealerships. On top of that, that became also a moment of reviewing the cost positions and really looking into, are we doing the right thing? And what I believe we started then last year in April, May timeframe is quite effective. We started looking into most of our cost elements, specifically in fixed cost elements. And there is relatively simple things like travel, obviously, that cost goes away easily, but also how do we do marketing? Can we reduce marketing cost? How do we do training? And at the end also, how do we utilize our footprint? Is there chances to optimize without having negative customer impact? On the other hand, still optimizing non-customer faced functions. We did a lot there in our network. And I think that's a journey that has begun and that will not stop. I mean, at the end, profitability is one of the main concerns of all OEMs. And specifically for Mercedes-Benz, I think we have taken massive steps to make sure that there is not only cash flow, but also profitability over the last couple of months. And again, I think we have seen a good progress there. So after looking now at the dealers, let me also talk a few moments on what did this entire situation actually trigger. The industry was on a journey of transformation already. And that, I think, got really enhanced, and more pressure and more speed was developed. And I can clearly say for Mercedes, we have taken that up very positively. We have here lined it out 5 different areas which we believe are significant for that journey. And let me start at the left. Live up to customers' expectation with exciting products. I think that's something which is always a path out of a critical situation. I'll talk to it about in a second. Strengthen omni-retail presence to enhance customer experience, online to offline. Also very important with then the sale either in the showroom or virtually on an online platform. Another major activity that had big progress in the last couple of months. Obviously, with things moving more digital, it's also a question how to leverage data, how to have data-driven connections with the customers and within the entire network. That is another area which really got a boost in that time frame. On the other hand, we also see exclusivity is more relevant than even before the crisis. And we also believe there is new customer segments which have specific aspirations that need to be fulfilled. I will just talk a few words on these different areas. When we talk about products, it is my firm belief that strong products are forming the market, and they will attract customers, they will entice them. And so in the second half of last year, we did not stop any product launch which we had planned. We had a few delays, but technically we pushed forward with our product strategy. We came to the market also with all the new cars you see here on the left-hand side. And I think that is also very important because that talks to the customer. It also creates desire for the products, and strong product portfolio will and remain the core of Mercedes as a brand, and we will continue to work on our strong product portfolio even in 2021. So as I said, we have not really reduced any of our plans. We had a couple of delays, but now in 2021, I can say we're waiting for even more launches than we had in 2020, and that shall further help us to boost and follow that V-shaped recovery I was just talking about. When we go now onto more digital environment, I mean, we see customers really always online, and the digital touchpoints become more and more important. So for us, that triggered last year a strong push also in that area to really further improve our online sales capabilities and also our customer connect using digital means. On the one hand, we have our e-commerce platform, which we already had launched, but now we have fully leveraged it and fully populated with vehicles from new car to used cars with a full transparency of our availability in the net. But we have complemented that with stronger back-end systems, with stronger data analytics, with stronger digital approaches. And I think that is also a task which combines OEM and the dealers in the networks. It is very important that we have a clear understanding how we address and utilize customer data on the one hand, respecting data privacy of the customers, on the other hand, using today's technology in order to address, to market our vehicles. And I think we have done a massive progress there in the last 6-8 months, again, with a big catalyst of that pandemic situation. So as a result, we have had 1,100 cars, around 1,100 cars, which is between new and used car sales in the second half of last year, which we sold via that sales channel. I find this number extremely impressive. In the new car segment, it's around 15% we're achieving there. And a year ago, I don't think any of us would have expected that we come into that area. So that shows how important the online sales, but then at the other end, also the interaction between online and offline is. And that's something I would like to explain on this a little bit more complicated slide, where you can clearly see we believe two things drive the online sales, and that's the convenience to the customers and the integration of dealer partners and OEMs together. It's not something that is done by the OEM in isolation. It is something which needs to be an integrated process between what happens in the network and what happens at the manufacturer. And it's all to the benefit of the customer to create convenience and transparency for the customer. So when we look into what we achieved last year, you see that in this schematic process down there, from inquiry, sales consultant to delivery, we achieved for the customer really major advantages in terms of a simple approach to the brand, virtual consultation options, even test drive booking, and then also visibility of pricing and transparent interactions, and eventually then a convenient payment process. On the other hand, in the network at the dealers, we have had, and we still have obviously, separate dealer websites which we set up, but they are linked into the overall online platform that we offer. We have had the opportunity with that to really have customized offers. We have tried then and combined print ads with QR codes with specific dealer offers, and also then we could customer specific online offers can be issued via our online platform, and then support the customer in the selection of his vehicle or her vehicle, and then eventually with the services around that. So why I'm saying that, I think that is one of the core things that will further be developed, the seamless interaction between what happens online and offline, and the seamless interaction between the manufacturer and the dealer network. That is the winning element. If that can be achieved, then the customer will benefit of that. And we see strong responses, as we have seen now with Mercedes-Benz in the last couple of months for the online sales. Obviously, online is not limited, and Customer Connect is not limited to the field of new cars or used cars. It's also a core element when it comes to customer services. We did also do a lot of activities, a journey that is further to be continued, from online appointment booking to video calling to online estimates and real-time service tracker. So I think, again, the theme is the same. It's about convenience to the customer, and it's about transparency to the customer. I think both is very decisive, be it you buy a new car, a used car, or in your customer service operations. We believe to integrate that and show that in an adequate platform, which we have also been achieving now over the last couple of months, is really giving an indication where to go in future as well with connected customer services here. Moving on to another element of our learnings out of this time frame, exclusivity is always exciting or enticing customers, and it's really reflected also now in our current order bank. We have quite a backlog on our sales of GLS and GLE, so there is a strong order bank there, and we can clearly see our customers, they aim for the attractive cars, they aim for something exclusive. That's not a new knowledge which we have, but obviously we see that even stronger now, also in our, say, AMG segment, very strongly growing there under the current circumstances. So we really think exclusivity will remain one of the main drivers in the luxury segment, and we can clearly see how well we are positioned there. On the other hand, we can also see that, and that's on the middle chart here, that shared mobility has a little bit taken a hit. We see clearly customers are a little bit more apprehensive of sharing their transport space, and so they are now opting even more into individual traffic modes, and that's again is helping definitely the car industry as such. But what I think specifically to us is a consideration we see also, and that's on the right hand side, we see more and more customers who also for longer journeys are preferring now having the safety of their vehicle, and therefore this trip, say 200, 300, 400 kilometers, obviously our cars are very well attuned to, so it's very good, and customer demand is really growing in this segment as well for us in these areas to use, for example, a long wheelbase E-Class also really for intercity travel and intra-city travel connects then. So that is clearly a trend we can also see. And when I come now to one of the last elements of these 5 I wanted to outline, then we also see new customer segments, and that is specifically customer segments who want to enter into the Mercedes-Benz brand. And there we talk specifically then also on the pre-owned car segment. We can clearly identify that there is a tendency also for new customers to come to the brand with pre-owned in the pre-owned segment. And as a manufacturer, it is our job to make sure that we not only offer a wide range of cars, but we have transparency, and we offer additional services like a warranty and so forth. And there again, we are very well poised and pushing forward in these areas. So having said that, this is more or less 5 trends. They were not all new, but the pandemic situation has a lot of accelerated in these trends, and it shows to me how important it is not only to identify the trends, but then to address them between the manufacturer and the dealer network. And for us, I think we have done that quite substantially. And I really think we have shown in the last couple of months that we were able to unlock the potential of the luxury car market in India with our different initiatives. And you see just a few of these press statements here. So I think clearly hand in hand with the dealer network, it is possible to leverage the situation to really find the way forward and to define a strategy for the next couple of months and years in order to further promote the luxury car industry, and specifically, obviously, Mercedes-Benz. With that, I close my quick intro presentation. I'm happy to share that we were for the 6th time this year the best-selling brand, luxury brand in India. And you see the backdrop here with Lewis Hamilton. He's equally successful in his medium. So I'm really looking forward to this year, 2021, and I wish everyone a very strong recovery, and of course that everyone remains healthy. So with that, Nabil, I'm open for your questions.
Thank you so much, Martin, for putting out such a wonderful presentation, showing us where the market in luxury space moving after pandemic. And you obviously stated that how digital penetration has become very strong option when it comes to retailing. You also talked about the kind of product, the kind of pre-owned demand, and also for the new cars, and also their spending power or the intention to spend. How does it pan out? Coming back to the basic that today's forum is going to discuss, is it's all about retailers, dealers, and efficient way of managing a dealership business or retailing business. In all these times, it's been more than 9 months now. We are about close to 1 year. Next month will complete 1 year since the pandemic broke out. I just want to understand what are the top pain points that your dealer partners have come across to you, and how has it been different from the normal time, or when Corona was not there, though the economy was already on the slide, the demand was shrinking. But there would be some pain points, some unique problem that dealership might have come to you with after the pandemic. What were they, and how did you try to address them?
I think the biggest concern was early in the pandemic when no one really had visibility on how things would develop. If we talk, for example, March, April timeframe, all revenue streams were basically stopped. And the question was, how can we survive without income, so to say? I think with that, we could relatively quickly address the short-term liquidity issues. And I think that helped a lot. That was certainly a question we have had, not in the same way, but the deeper question then obviously is also one of inventories, how to move forward. And I think at that time already we agreed with our network to look, on the one hand, to look really into how can we protect their cash position. On the other hand, what needs to happen to create profitability, so that out of a stabilizing situation, they can then be more profitable again. I think what we have done very aggressively with our dealers, we really questioned practice which we have. We questioned, for example, from manpower requirements in back offices to requirements in terms of marketing. Is it efficient to say event requirements? A lot of requirements that we had set out in good times, and we looked into and said, does it really make sense? Is there a way for us a quick win to reduce cost? We questioned the setup of dealerships, of workshops, workshop productivity, as well as showroom efficiency. So a lot of these discussions we had, and we were very open to proposals of our dealers. And I think that was the biggest change to the past, that instead of taking months to discuss and going back and forth, a lot of quick decisions were made. So I think that helped a lot. On the other hand, one of maybe a strange situation now is obviously we have had a stronger demand now in the second half of the year, specifically in the last quarter. Stronger than what we had anticipated, and specifically on our hot running GLE, GLS, GLC, we actually ran into some shortages of product, which causes now a situation which is obviously also not what you want to have, and it is more than what we would have expected. So as much as we had on the one hand to deal with the current with the pandemic situation, we also had some supply issues which were also coming through the system, combined with the ramp up of new models. It got a little bit more difficult. So a lot of issues which we are dealing with is actually on the supply side. You have customers who have seen the new cars. They're very happy with what they see, but we don't have the cars at the moment, and that sounds like a good problem to have. But if you have unhappy customers who cannot have their GLS, it's ordered but it's not there, then it's not a good problem to have. Then we do everything we can to catch up there. So it has a little bit turned from actually how do I survive to how do I do best again to support the customer to deliver my vehicles. And also our conversations around, say, profitability have really taken a turn from maybe 6 months ago to now. We are already in that V-shaped mode. We are a little bit more in a normal situation that we look into, and looking forward now to stabilize also the profit situation of the dealers again.
Well put, Martin. Certainly, you talked about, you questioned some of the processes that were followed by your dealer partners in terms of manpower management, in terms of infrastructure availability. Which are the area you found that needed strong, correction or improvement, and how are they going to change forever in the new normal or new age?
Let me say it like this: any approach we take or took is not something that sits a team in Pune and says, now this is going to happen. What we did is the reverse. Every dealer partner, we asked them, what are the steps you would want to take to improve your fixed cost position? Please let us know. And we collected, say, in April timeframe and May, and we discussed with the dealers partners what to do. And there were several activities from, say, footprint reviews, say, do we really need that space? Can we use the space differently? Do we need it? There were discussions of, say, efficiency. I think, for example, the productivity in workshops and in showrooms is not yet where it could be or should be. So a lot of activities in that area were initiated. And again, it was more that bottom up, I would say, a dealer-driven process, whilst we would guiding them and at the same time indicate what are basically elements we cannot let go. I mean, that's of course everything where the customer has the brand contact. We cannot dilute standards of the brand. We can, for example, also not take away anything that needs to happen with the safety protocols and whatever needed to be implemented. On the other hand, when it comes to productivity in a workshop, for example, or when it comes to reduction of overhead costs in travel, marketing, or other areas, we were very open. So I think a very mature process between our dealers and us. And I would still think that is the way to go, that you don't sit only centrally and you say, this is it. We try to do it in a combined way. What's your idea? How do we see that? And how do we combine it? And that is what we did. And I think that reduced substantially the cost in every dealership with several different measures.
What are the key common factors, or you can say common, area where you were able to reduce cost across your networks?
As I mentioned already, it is specifically was around marketing cost. It's about productivity, and at the end, then an optimizing of the manpower utilization, specifically in workshops and also in some sales functions, and also a review of specific footprints to reallocate space and to see whether there is maybe an area not be needed and can be done in a different way. All of that to be done without, say, minimum or no customer impact. So that are the core elements we're talking about.
So, how do you see this going forward? Your retail networks changing for us, a common man who sees a Mercedes Benz outlet, how different it will be now on that is going to remain permanent until another disruption hits us? What are the key 2, 3 points you can make out?
I think for the customer, there should be no significant change. What we definitely will definitely further stabilize the network. Whilst in the last couple of years we had a rather aggressive strategy to further bring in new workshops and to bring in new showrooms, I think the focus remains on, for example, when you talk about workshop, to see is the utilization really on that level that we want to see. And there is quite some opportunities to further increase productivity in workshops before you have to build another one. So, for example, that's for me a good example. Instead of having a second or third workshop, increase the productivity in existing workshop. And we did a lot of analysis. There is quite some possibility to optimize there, and that shall then help the customer. That has no direct bearing, but it shows for us a consolidation of the network in that sense that we're not growing substantially. We'll keep more or less the footprint we are having. That is clearly the intent, not to say reduce or even substantially increase the footprint. So it's about stabilization and basically making some of these gains which we had in the last couple of 6 months in terms of cost-wise to try to transfer them into a permanent situation. In that sense, I would also want to talk about inventory management, which I didn't speak before. Obviously, inventory is a lot of burden, and it needs a lot of thoughts how to manage and to reduce then the cost related to inventory. So whilst that is a permanent task, last year as well, we put a lot of efforts in creating an aging portfolio in the inventory, which is conducive for sales that we really get. That's obviously a concern you have when you have a period of no sales, that you try to dispose or to sell off vehicles that are aged. So I think we have now achieved that as well, that we have a younger portfolio back at the dealerships, meaning there is no, say, aged vehicles, unduly aged. At the same time, also then looking into, do we need the same levels of inventory we always had, or is a possibility to optimize and reduce? And here our demand situation, our pull situation from the market obviously helps that we are also reducing inventory levels, which has obviously goes a long way with our dealers and their profitability as well.
So you very nicely put out the way forward for the automotive dealers in luxury, and I think it is valid for all segment automobile dealers. You are talking about rationalizing inventory, means reducing the inventory and keeping as much it is required, and putting the newer models more at the dealership rather than older models. Then you are talking about rationalizing the number of outlets, both in terms of sales and services. But there's the same time, people will probably feel some kind of concern when it comes to delivery of product on time or availability of products to the dealership in time. How are you going to ensure this by way of taking help of technology? You are talking about a lot of aggressive plans in terms of digitization. So how much of it is going to come from digitization, and how that is going to propel your plan of lean and lean network and workshops and lean inventory strategy?
Let me start first correcting a little bit. We have not rationalized in terms of number of sales outlet or workshop. It is more about when we come now back into the growth scenario as well, which I expect that we're not adding additional. So we say we stabilize and create higher efficiency. But you're absolutely right. When we want to run with lower inventories, it needs also a better transparency on where we are in the entire, say, ordering process and in the customer in the entire sales funnel process where we are. So transparency there is key to steer. I don't see, I mean, you have to understand we're not in the mass segment. So we also cannot at that point in time have completely artificial intelligence driven, say, data models, which maybe if you have hundreds of thousands of cars, be a model of how you can steer and do a prognosis. For us, it's still very much every customer is individual. So we will always try to make sure that we can fulfill the expectation of the customer, and every order can be fulfilled in time. I mean, we can ship anywhere in the country, even if the car was not at the dealership in 2 days, the car is there. So it's not about the logistic chain for us. I think that's different in the luxury segment. We will still, with a reasonable visibility on what the customer demand is and a planning around that, plus knowing how our sales funnel is developing, where we are in the different stages of purchase across the network, we'll be able to steer even with a slightly lower inventory. Because at the end, it's also the question of what inventory do we hold centrally in Pune, or what do we hold at the dealers. So we'll probably look at a little different operation point here, but overall, I think we have quite suitably used that situation which we have now, which is a strong demand and reduced inventory levels. We'll have to see. That's probably not sustainable on the level we are at the moment, but I would believe that it is one of the discussions we really have to be very careful. How can we make sure that the entire inventory between dealers and OEMs at the end not a burden to profitability, and at the end it happens and it's steered in a way that it's not creating issues for customers who actually want their cars.
I just want to understand strategy, slow moving, fast moving product versus old and new product. So our new product can be slow moving, but some old products can be fast moving as well. So how are you going to fix this scenario?
I mean, the question is what you mean with old and new. I mean, you have, say, a new model you run in, the tendency is you run short with supply at the beginning, yeah, because we have CKD production, and it takes a little bit of time to get our processes up. So it can be most of the time a new product has rather an issue of the supply side. Demand is relatively strong, and it takes a little bit of time to build the pipeline. An old product, I think I would think usually the cars of concern are vehicles which have a standing time of several months or a year or longer, which is obviously nothing you want to have. But that can happen because it might be a combination of options that are not desired, or it might just, and obviously the pandemic introduced, I think, like 3 months of aging or even 4 months of aging to a car that was built maybe in March. All of a sudden it's already old in a sense come September, but that hasn't really been to the market. Yeah, so it creates a perception of old. So what we're trying to do then obviously is to, on the one hand, make sure that we meet then the demand side again accordingly, and there's always possibilities around marketing, but also financing options and so forth if we really feel a car needs to move to bring it through the system. And that happens between central programs, but also at the same time the dealers are very active there. Again, what I think helps a lot in this field is also the transparency I was talking about. If you go onto our e-commerce website, for example, you can really see transparently what inventory is available in what dealership. And that transparency also helps eventually to sell, to have individual customers talk to you and to find then individual solutions in terms of, say, from trade-in to financing options, and also then to make the pipeline younger again. And I think we achieved a lot in the last couple of months, and now we are in actually a pull situation where we have to make sure that we can fulfill the demand.
Martin, one last and final question. We have seen that the sales has degrown about 35% last year, if I'm not wrong. So you already have a huge network compared to the volume that you have. Your volumes have come down a lot in the last 2 years. So just want to understand, is there any additional dealership required this year, and what kind of volume do you expect to have for luxury segment and for Mercedes as well this year?
For me, as I already tried to point out, that we expect that the footprint should more or less remain the way it is. And we rather try to come back strongly in volumes. And I would think we will see substantial growth compared to 2020. Now, it's hard for me to pitch a number at the moment, but what I can say is we in the last quarter, we have more or less seen a sales development similar to a non-pandemic year. And if that is be a guidance, then we will have a chance, I think, over the next 6 months to get at least to a pace which we would consider being normal. Whether it happens, I mean, there's so many possible disruptions still. We're not out of the woods, as to say, but I think we have a clear chance that we come to a similar position like maybe some to 2019 also as a market as in a whole. Let's see how things develop. But overall, the tendency is definitely positive.
Thank you so much, Martin, for joining ET Auto Retail Forum 5th edition. Wish you a wonderful year ahead. Thank you so much once again.
Thank you very much. Same to you. Thanks, Nabil, for having me.